So thank you for joining me today. I'm a huge fan of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and I loved your performance. I'm excited to have you on. And so, for the first part, can you please explain a little bit about yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Yeah, my name's Emmett. First of all, I love the Dark Mark t-shirt.
Thank you.
Amazing, repping it. My name's Emmet Smith. I play Albus in the North American tour of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is here in Chicago through February, and then we make our way around a couple different cities around the country.
That's
I'm
awesome.
from,
So, what has been your favorite part about being in the first national tour of Harry Potter?
I think the people, I mean, it's such a unique thing to live in a city away from home with all actors who, I mean, almost everybody's not from Chicago. Um, get to kind of spend time with this amazing company of artists, like building a thing and get to like know people in this way. It's so special to work in New York, obviously in the New York theater community there. And it's also just this unique thing to build a company on tour. And it's been a really big surprise to me, kind of the way that like we have come together and done special, unique like group celebrations and like around the holidays, especially. It's just been really cool. Um, and a big surprise because the show is so magical, and that's trickled into our lives outside the theater as well.
That's awesome. And so, what was the audition process like for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child?
Yeah, so I've been in for the show for like 2 years. Um, I first self-taped in the spring of 2022. And then that summer, I came in for a read and then a movement call and then another read of scene work and then another movement call. And then I had like a flying call. Um, and then I didn't book, that was for Broadway fall 2022. And then I was like, all right, that's kind of the end of the line. And the next summer, I knew they were touring, so I asked my agents, I gotta come back in for this. I know I have to do this. Um, and then another read, another movement call. It's like I don't even count. I stopped counting how many auditions. And then finally this winter, I got to meet with John Tiffany, who's the original director, who came back to direct this iteration of the show. And then we booked it and started rehearsal last summer.
That's awesome. And so, obviously, with this being a touring production, the show is cut down a lot just so it's small enough in length, and the set isn't as big as the theater in New York, obviously. But what is some of your favorite changes that have been made to fit the tour?
Yeah. So what's cool also is that like this version that we created with the original many of the original creative team who haven't even like touched it in years and years, is that it is now the version that exists on Broadway opening in a week or so. And then in Tokyo and Hamburg and all over the world, everywhere except London. So it kind of felt like um, we got so much love and attention like to every detail of this because it is like the kind of final version like as it exists. um I would say my favorite changes, there are some really inventive things that we do um to create the magic in the touring space, um, that is different from Broadway. And I don't know if I can share any of them, but my favorite change that I can tell you about would have to be, let me come back to you on this because I want to give you a nugget and I want to make sure I don't get in trouble.
And so, what is your favorite scene in the show? We'll go to that next.
Hmm.
Favorite scene in the show that you perform?
I really like the final scene with Dad just because. we have spent this whole journey really, really fighting to be able to see each other and connect with each other. Um, and there's so many technical things to get right. And you have to be so laser focused. Um, and then to earn a scene with dad that's just about us and just about what we've been trying to do this whole play, which is to see each other and not, all the magic is behind us and there's just like some stupid jokes in there that have nothing to do with, the Harry Potter world and illusions. And it's just like connecting with my dad and the joke about the pigeons. It's so stupid, but it's just like so true to their relationship.
That's great. And so, what? Sorry, I have to find the question. I have a list of questions and it's loading. There we go. And so what's the hardest part about being in a show that's such fast paced, especially for you as a one of the leads in the show? What's hard about being in a show where you're in almost every scene moving and moving?
Moving and moving. That's the exact way. Like once the train departs, it does not stop. Um, and so it's a challenge, but it's also a gift to not, there's no time to think. Like you just keep going and everybody lifts you up. Everybody like is there for you. I think there's like a physical stamina thing that has just been built up. Like you keep running around. Like there's if you're not on stage running around, you are off stage in a quick change, running to put some crazy contraption on, like to get to the next entrance. So the crew and the army of dressers that are backstage and taking care of us, is the only reason that any of it can happen. And my dresser Cheyenne is my godsend. She is the reason for any of it. Oh, I lost your sound, Timothy.
Check one, two.
There you go. Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go. And so you're in Chicago for a long time until February. And so what has been your favorite part about being in Chicago, and what are you looking forward to coming up in these upcoming months?
Chicago for me is my second home. So like I said, there's like a weird part of being away from home, and we get to kind of build this little world together with the company. But for me, like I am privileged in that I went to college here. Um, I went to Northwestern. I lived here after graduating for a bit. Um, I got to work in a couple different theaters here and like so many loved ones and friends here. So my favorite part is just sharing it with people I love and people who I went to school with. There's a group of like 115 Northwestern students who came last week, and just to get to talk to them and how school's going now and like share about, what acting class you're in, like all that stuff that for me was the key to unlocking this world. Like my sophomore year, someone from the original cast who went to my college, Alex Weissman, came and talked to us and just kind of shared the experience of the show, and it just opened the possibilities of what you can do. Like you know that people can graduate your school and go on to do amazing things, but like to see someone and talk to them and hear the experience was, and then he ended up coaching my auditions because I reached out to him. Um, anyway, it's Chicago is just it's a really special theater culture, and I love the people that I know here in this community. Um, and moving forward, like I have no idea what LA is going to hold. I don't really know LA very well, but it seems like a fabulous city. And then DC is like it'll be such an interesting time to be there, and just such cool cities. It's like we call it a tour, but it's not really a tour. It's like sitting down in three of the greatest cities in the world. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, what you were saying about the three cities is this is also different than other tours. You're in the cities that you go to for at least, I think 5 months each. And so other tours are there for only a week or two. You're here for a couple of months. So you actually get to explore the city. You get to live in the city for a couple of months, which is also pretty cool.
And it gives you a chance to like interact with the young people here or like go see shows
Hmm.
and like feel like we are part of kind of the fabric of the city for a minute.
That's great. And so Harry Potter, with it being such a well-known franchise, is it hard to live up to fan expectations about being a character?
What's cool about Albus and Scorpius is that they're brand new. Um, so you know, John and Ebony and Ben and Matt and Trish do such a good job playing those Harry, Ron, Hermione, Draco, and Ginny. They do such a great job, like honoring the characters that the fans know so well and also bringing themselves to it.
Mhm.
Um, but what me and Aiden have to do, and Naya and the whole rest of the company of the younger generation, is like get to bring ourselves to these roles um, and step into this legacy, but make it our own. And it's so rare to have a process that, it mirrors what we are doing as actors. It's like stepping into this show that people know so well, like Albus and Scorpius and Rose and these characters are stepping into these names, Potter and Granger and Malfoy that people know so well. And it's like this daunting legacy, and what you choose to do with it is is more important than the name itself. And as they are arriving at platform 9 3/4 for the first time, like so are we. So it's this cool mirrored experience. Um, and we are uplifted by veteran company members who have done the show for years. Um, and the original creative team and these newbies. And so there's been given like a really surprising amount of green light to follow our own impulses while honoring the legacy.
That's great. And so, how many productions are there currently of Harry Potter? I know there's the Broadway and the touring and the two-part.
There's also Tokyo and
Okay.
Hamburg.
Got it. Okay, cool.
I think
And
there's
so, have you seen other productions too, like the Broadway or the two-part in London?
so I saw when I was in high school, I heard the show is coming to the US, the original two-part, and I was like, I have to see that. So I saw that with the original cast, the two-parter. Um, Sam Clement, who, if you pull up a picture of him, if you Google Sam Clement, Albus Potter, you'll be like, wow, that looks just like Emmett, which is what everybody was telling me that year. I've never met like a doppelganger so eerily.
Have you met him in person?
Yeah, he visited a rehearsal. And it was like meeting myself. I mean, no, he's like he's gone on to do such cool things. And I would love his career. And he's such a great guy. But it was, that year when it was the buzz in New York, just to hear like everybody was like, wow, you look like this guy Sam Clement who plays. And I was like, that's crazy because he has my dream job. And I never thought, I don't know, I didn't really think it was possible. And I kind of went to college and then blah blah blah. Like, and I got to see the new condensed version. And then I've seen it a couple different casts. Like throughout auditions, I would just go and go for research and preparation, but just like to go be in the wizarding world for a couple hours. Um, it's cool that it's evolved so much over the years to kind of fit the needs of audiences. and just become increasingly accessible to people in New York and around the country who families who want to come and people who, the two-part thing is so cool. But also to get to pay one ticket and get the whole experience just opens it to so many more people.
Yeah, that's great. And so obviously you were probably a big Harry Potter fan before this. And so what was your favorite Harry Potter book when you were a child?
Favorite book, Goblet of Fire. Um, I yeah, it's really cool to reread them like and experience the series as an adult. Um, 'Cause there's so many adult themes and like so much really heavy stuff that doesn't get processed all the way in those books. And you can't really like fully understand. I mean, not that young people can understand it, but like it just has a new lens
Mhm.
as an adult. And so now to kind of get to process some of those untied up threads in the course of the play, it's just like a whole new chapter, literally.
Yeah, that's amazing. And as you were saying about going into some of those scenes in the play, it's also probably pretty cool that it's your favorite book and you redoing these scenes on stage. And so it's kind of like you're in the book, which
Yeah,
is also pretty cool. And so what advice would you give to your younger self?
that's a great question. I don't know. I'm still figuring out. I haven't like come to the end of my journey and have things to go tell him. But I would say like trust yourself, trust your instincts, um, work really hard, but enjoy the trip. I think like so many of the cool milestones that have come and like throughout this rehearsal process, I was just so focused on getting it right and I miss rehearsal. Um, like that time is so special and that's kind of like a little microcosm of what kind of life and growing up is. Not to be too deep, but like it's all rehearsal and figuring it out. And if sometimes the time you spend thinking about getting it right could be just as well spent being present and letting your creative growth and personal growth like figure itself out. Sometimes your gut is better than your brain.
Yeah, it's great. And so this next question kind of ties into the last one, but what advice would you give to younger performers who want to become an actor professionally?
Same thing, trust yourself. Um, Listen to your peers just as much as your mentors. Um, listen, and enjoy it. It should be fun. I think like whatever whatever path it leads you down, like I am not a big advocate of like all young performers must go to BFA conservatory training programs and get the best possible technical skills so that they can work. I don't know, like I think performing as a young person and doing theater is so valuable, regardless of what you end up doing. Um, just because it teaches you to listen and practice empathy and play pretend is so good for you. And it's a skill that you need to cultivate even as an adult. Um, is the use of your imagination. I think like our particular American society in 2024 with all the tools of technology and blah blah blah, like can really stifle that part of the brain.
Mhm.
And so to work those muscles as a young person and growing up is invaluable.
That's great. And so that actually wraps up the interview today. I'd like to thank you for joining me. And
Yeah, thank you, Timothy. This is great.